and thank you for joining us today. My name is TC Mann, and I'm a Literary Programs and Emerging Voices Assistant at PEN America, an organization whose mission is to unite writers and their allies to celebrate the power of the written word and champion the freedom to write. We are thrilled to be back with you, live and in person, after 2 years of virtual programming. We are proud to present over 30 events featuring more than 80 writers over 4 days of celebration, dialogue, and cultural exchange. This is our 18th PEN World Voices Festival, and since 2005, the festival has stayed true to its original mission, to celebrate the power of storytelling and literature and translation, and to convene global voices from around the globe across borders, language, and culture. Over the last 2 years, many of us have turned to books as we wrestle with uncertainty and flux. We have also turned to literature to help reckon with the past, bring new understanding to what divided us, and imagine new futures. For those of you who are new to PEN America, we are a member-driven organization. We have members in every US state and chapter cities across the country, from Detroit to Tulsa and from Birmingham to Miami. We welcome all of you to help bring our mission to life. Please speak to our colleagues at the membership table following the event to learn more about the benefits of joining PEN America. We thank our members, our presenting sponsors at the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, and our community partners at the CUNY Mexican Studies Institute. And finally, special thanks to the members of the 2022 Cultural Committee, Clarice Rosaz Sharif, Eloisa Amezcua, John Freeman, Devyani Salzman, and Louise Simon. Now, I'm especially pleased to introduce today's event, Dreaming Out Loud, a public reading. Dreaming Out Loud is a paid, tuition-free creative writing workshop series for young immigrant writers, primarily those who are undocumented, DACA recipients, and/or dreamers who came to the United States when they were children. By providing community and professional support to the next generation of immigrant writers, this PEN America program seeks to counter anti-immigrant sentiment in the US and to amplify the voices of many living in this country who are marginalized because of their immigration status. Today, you will hear from 6 students from this year's Dreaming Out Loud cohort, from Venezuela to Russia to Japan to Mexico, Philippines to Nigeria, Guyana to Colombia, and beyond. Our dreamers will share stories of journeys towards hope, healing, and joy from around the world. Thank you all for coming today, and thank you to our guests for agreeing to take part in what promises to be a wonderful event. And to start us off, I'll hand the mic to Álvaro Enrigue, who is not only an award-winning novelist, but the founder of Dreaming Out Loud and an inspiring mentor to all of his students.
Thanks very much, TC, for your generous introduction, and thanks to the Mayor of New York and the Communication Office and the CUNY Center of Mexican Studies to keep this thing going after 6 years. No, it's just unbelievable. There is TC that the Jesus thing. You know who Jesus was? No? This guy with beard. The Jesus thing. He used to be. He said that the first. What was it? The last ones will be the first ones. We used it to be the last event of PEN World. We're always in the margins of everything. You know, we used it to be the last event. We were like Sunday at 5 p.m. We were the last event of the festival always. So we got the sweaty audience. Now we are the first event of the festival, which is fantastic because we have the just showered audience. Now, yes, we are all fresh and we are not tired, so thanks very much. So the Dreamers Project Workshop authors are back and delivering live again. It has merits. You guys survived COVID and the mental health issues associated with prolonged quarantines. These authors survived all of that, plus the hate of a boisterous US president, not a man poor of power, the third of all Americans who would go to the battlefield for him, and the other 20% of hypocrites who want all of us to go back where we came from, but will only tell it in the cozy comfort of the voting covey. I remember perfectly how scary it was in 2017. We did the Second Dreamers public event at Penn World's Voices Festival. That was one of the Sunday sessions. 12 young undocumented authors reading at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe against stadiums packed with regular moms and dads asking to build a wall, to kick us out, those red faces, full of hate. Oof. Now we are out again. The people consider the good guys won the elections, and we are exactly in the same place regarding administrative migration practices. If you are not a white European, of course. The wall is there, the families are broken, the camps on the other side of the border are human rights disgraces still. And if you are a dreamer, you still can't get a green card, forget about citizenship, through the merits of your work and decency, even when it was not your decision to migrate to the United States. Felicidades, America. You are doing great. Every spring since 2016, thanks to the generosity of PEN America and the City University of New York and the mayor's office, an accomplished group of older writers sits down once a week with a group of younger fellows desperate to tell a story. People from whom writing is not a road to recognition or a means of making money, but an effort to open consciences, to change the world, to serve others. The members of the Dreamers workshops put very serious things at stake to read for an audience, but to act, used to say James Baldwin in his beautiful letter to his nephew, is to be committed, and to be committed is to be in danger. The members of the Dreamers workshops have a constant, persistent conscience about the fact that our peaceful everyday life is not given, but something we have to fight for, staying strong and alert, outsmarting the system every damn minute of our life. Resistance is a topic for most of us. For a dreamer, is there in the morning and in the night, in the subway and at lunchtime. I have said this before. We are here to give testimony of one of the most extreme and literary ways of being an American writer in our days. Please keep supporting us, their writing, our workshops. Our workshops are a true liberated space. And thank you, of course, for listening. With this, I leave the room for the voices that own it and we care about. Maria Piaterneva, Aria Isberto, Angie Rivera, Luz Aguirre, Karina Álvarez, and Jasmine Kate Morales Cisneros. All the names must be said. Thanks very much.
Hello. Just give me one moment. And I'm sorry, I'm going to do some video for my mom, okay? I'm going to put it right here. Just 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, so my name is Maria. I'm originally from Russia, and today I'm going to read my short poetry piece, and the name is Happiness Recipe. Do you want to cook some love? Let's make it together. Leave your phone on the table. Stop reading the news. Close your Instagram. Come here. Don't be shy. Come closer. Take one more step. To make happiness, you need to have a spoon with kindness. See that pink jelly jar? Give it to me. Let's start with kindness. What else do we need to add?
Songs? Oh, that's an interesting answer. Let's add all universe music here. All sounds that fly in the fresh air. All voices that cover our lands. Do you like to dance? I do too. But I dance very rarely. Let's invite that curly barefoot girl in a red skirt. She moves like a panther. I saw her once dancing in Washington Square Park. Her feet were covered with black paint. What else do we need to be happy? Animals? Let's put dogs, cats, birds, and of course add some roaches. We are real New Yorkers now, right? Let's add some summer warm orange sun and my grandma's calm smile. Let's put loud children's laughs and Sharpie dogs' barks, dried flowers and Salvatore herbs from the childhood village fields, red wine and hot bread, pure water and ice. We need some ice to calm our planet. We need some wine to comfort us. We need some love to survive. We need some magic to believe. If your day was bad, it's okay, because mine was too. But everything will pass. Let's open old vinyl from the summer of love and play some good music. Let's choose beautiful spring flowers to put in the hair. Let's buy an old noisy car and learn how to drive together. Let's run to the vintage store and find funny white brim hats for me and for you. Let's make a trip to the happiness together, no matter what. Now, let's go. Press play. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Arya. I'm just going to start reading right away because my piece is kind of long. This is called The 20th Year. It's a shortened version of this piece, and this is dedicated to my parents. Hello. In the first year of her life in America, she stopped speaking out loud for a little while. She stopped writing too, for that matter. It was very unusual, but she discovered that she articulated words a little differently and structured phrases a little awkwardly, and the kids in her new middle school did not take kindly to that sort of thing. She always kept a diary to write down her thoughts and stories. The last entry was written before the plane touched down in the United States. It was about her old dog, Casper, and the story of him breaking away from his new owners to chase after her family's car as it made its way to the airport. She wrote about twisting around in the back seat, about looking through the rear window as he scampered desperately after them, about pleading loudly for him to turn around, go back, stay, about how he listened and stopped to sit on the pavement and watch them disappear down the road. He always listened. In many ways, this impulse to listen rather than speak would become her second nature. It would later make her wonder how our experiences have the power to shape us and alter our personalities. She would look at her parents years down the road and notice how much they had changed since those first few steps off the plane. A few more gray hairs, an unexpected posture of diffidence, an unwillingness to meet eyes. She would then wish she hadn't wasted precious time watching everybody else. By the 5th year, she learned her family had become undocumented. Something had expired, and she knew that they had overstayed their welcome. Illegal, the way some other Americans spat it out. It made her feel like an imposter, like the space she took up was a sin. It made her want to occupy as little of it as possible, shrinking, in every sense of the word, as a form of penance. She lived in her favorite childhood memories, like tagging along on a lengthy business trip to Hong Kong with her father when she was 6. She remembered how sharp and imposing he looked in his suit and tie, and how her heart swelled with pride the way only little daughters' hearts can. And when his workday was over, they explored the city, ate ramen noodles, and watched hotel cable TV in Cantonese. They bought tickets to go on the spinning observation deck where she first saw the curve of the Earth. She then wished that the rest of her life could be filled with similar moments, traveling the world with her father, and she longed for it so deeply that it felt like a hot air balloon was filling her lungs. She dreamed of being back in Manila, where her mother was a medical technologist at the city hospital. Many childhood summer days were spent running around white fluorescent hallways and eating cafeteria food. She loved every second of it. But what she loved most was watching her mother's hands at work. Her mother's hands always moved quickly and with precision. They measured sample tubes, organized blood bank bags, and placed mystery drops on thin microscope slides. Sometimes it was enough to look at her mother in her white lab coat and her calm demeanor and believe that there was a purpose to life and an order for everything. She was visiting a friend one evening, so far the only real friend she had made in the 5th year of her life in America. The television on the kitchen counter began to blare local news: an incoming heat wave, a traffic jam along a major highway, a swell of immigrants. Why don't these people just go back to where they came from? Her friend's parents had just walked in, carrying groceries, to see the last bit. "Mom," her friend hissed, and she could picture the accompanying glare. Suddenly, the back of her neck felt hot while the room went still. "Oh," a pause. The voice then seemed to be directed at her. "But not you, honey. You're not like them. I didn't mean it like that, of course." Shame bubbled up, unfortunately, amassing many other barbed interactions. And it continued to do so for a few years, sometimes evaporating into an empty sensation and other times spilling over into anger. It is incredibly difficult to admit that, at the time, it was directed at the only two people she could think of. Even more devastating was the way this blurred her memories, the way teardrops do when you try to look through them. Behind closed doors and in hushed tones, her parents argued for her future. So they stayed. Sorry. And it felt like she was sitting on the pavement, watching her dreams disappear down the road. When she shuts her eyes, she can picture her father. He steps out of his windowless basement room in Queens, New York. He struggles to zip up his coat. It's probably 4 in the morning, and he hunches his back against the wind and braces himself for the day. It is the 10th year. She used to visit him at work in the late afternoons. She would walk from the Manhattan campus on 25th and Lexington up to Murray Hill, where he worked at the cleaners inside a very fancy apartment building. He taught her how to use the POS system, and she would watch him efficiently and carefully fold various articles of clothing: pants, shirts, dresses, underwear. Once in a while, a customer became irate. "I said I needed this on Wednesday." And she would quietly watch her father apologize to strangers in suits, similar to the ones he used to wear. They closed up shop and left together around 7 in the evening, her father swinging 2 oversized sacks of clothes over his shoulders to begin door-to-door delivery. One night, she walked past a certain bronze statue at the Rockefeller Center and thought of him. When she shuts her eyes, she can picture her mother, how her mother puts on her pale blue housekeeper's uniform, neatly tying her apron string behind her back, donning her double-breasted lapel dress and her downcast eyes. They lived together in a 12-by-14 housemaid's room on the 11th floor of a pre-war building on 75th and Park. They lived there for 10 years. When her mother was busy working, she would spend hours peeking into the street below, back when the Whitney Museum was located on Madison Avenue, and watch a rotating exhibit of happy people walking in and out. On bad days, when the room seemed to close in, she turned away from the window to face the yellow wallpaper, imagining pulling on its edges with a fingernail. It was just a room in a building, on a street, in a city, in a country where she did not belong. Her mother's hands turned rough and worn with time, and time spent washing laundry and dusting furniture and scrubbing floors and ironing bed sheets and cleaning leather shoes. Sometimes they shook uncontrollably. Illogically, she thought to herself how her mother would ever handle a fragile microscope slide again. In 2022, the 20th year of her life in America, she has earned her green card, and she lives in an apartment with her husband and a view of the ocean. She spends hazy summer weekends with him on the beach, reading her favorite books. They are planning to travel, to have kids, and to have a house and 2 dogs. Maybe one will be named Casper. But her happiness makes it difficult to sleep at night. She questions the structural integrity of this brand new life. There is fear of waking up back in the maid's room and realizing this has all been a dream. And then immediately an incredible sense of guilt rushes in, because that room still exists, doesn't it? And her mother is still there, trying to fit her life's belongings underneath a single twin bed. And her father is still trying to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders. She wants them both to know that she is no longer afraid to speak and to dream out loud these days, to take up space. She also writes a lot, realizing that this story was never actually about her. It is about two people, a mother and a father, whose love will carry generations of immigrants in this country, immigrants rising on the backs of sacrifices made over 20 years and counting, sacrifices that are impossible to enumerate. She writes and writes and writes. She writes, "Thank you," and "I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I ever made you feel like you failed me. You really didn't. I couldn't see what you saw in my future. It is better than I dreamed, but you knew it all along. And if you need to go back home now, it's okay." Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angie Rivera, and this is, This is for everybody who is grieving today. Immigrants believe in miracles. I don't remember much about the exact date my grandmother died. I don't remember if we received the call in the morning or in the middle of the night on a regular Tuesday. Maybe we got the news days later than everyone else through international phone tag. I think that is kind of how death works, a sudden slap in the face, an abrupt alteration of your entire reality, foggy with time, but the scars stay. I do remember it was Easter. I remember the months of decay, the video chat appointments, the lingering goodbyes and empty see you soons, the way she begged us to come home one last time even though we couldn't, the way my mother's grief began to leak everywhere, never having enough time to repair all the holes in their history, the dance she was doing every day between staying here for us and going to her mother's side, as if her presence could somehow rewind or freeze time, as if it could stop illness from spreading and claiming another body. We were racing against the clock, and we were racing against laws. I think this is why immigrants believe in miracles. While she was still alive, most of our interactions felt like show and tell. It was hard to communicate with my grandmother because of her speech disability and the constraints of cyber cafe times. It kept us from having an in-depth conversation. Even in life, she felt like an ancestor, someone I was analyzing based on artifacts left behind and past decisions that would impact the future. In my digging, I was desperate to understand her, and by extension, my mother. Maybe I could make sense of us, of everything. Finally, with a green card in hand, I find myself sitting in the house where she passed away more than 14 years ago. I am still digging. My grandmother's sister tells me about her final days, shows me the last sunflowers she ever crocheted, and reveals that she was actually buried in a family tomb at the local church. Instead of the mass grave we thought she was lost in. Our grief has a home. We are robbed of crying into the earth and not allowed to give our bodies closure. Through ceremony and ritual. And this is how immigrants learn to carry grief in our pores, ready to spill over at any mention of loss. The hurt becomes a bond. I ask her if she remembers the exact date when my grandmother passed away, and phone in hand, I typed the information down, unable to trust my memory. Grandma died on March 25th, 2008, 62 years old, born on May 19, 1944. By the time I arrived at my grandmother's little house in the mountains, the front porch where we took our last photo together has already collapsed after years of deterioration. I allowed myself a moment of gentleness and imagination, what it must have been like to visit here every summer. Maybe I would trust my voice and my gut more. If I was rooted somewhere, maybe I would step into my life with confidence and feel like I have a home. Maybe my mother would have laughed more in my grandmother's presence, even for a second. They would sit together outside watching the sunset behind the greenery after a long day of eating fruits directly from the plants. My mom would have gotten the answer she was looking for and the love she so desperately craved. The last Christmas I spent in Colombia, surrounded by my extended family, I allowed my grief to float alongside me. No longer an enemy I wanted to vanquish, but a partner, a shadow. I sat in front of my cousin's house and stared up at the holiday fireworks. In the darkness of night, I told the universe I was tired of hiding from her memory and that I did not want to run away from loss anymore. I wanted to feel open to connection. I wanted to hold on to memories about her, even if I was not a part of them. Because in the history of her life, I could make sense of my own. My cousin came outside and sat beside me. She chuckled and told me my grandmother loved to sit on that step as well, that the fireworks were her favorite part of the holiday season, and that she would sit there into the night, staring up at the sky, pointing and laughing like a kid.
Hi, my name is Luz Aguirre, and I will be reading An Undocumented American's Examined Life. I came to the United States in 1990, when Americans believed that the worst of racism had been left behind. Americans do not see color was the standard saying of the day. I was 16 years old when I entered a department store and asked for a manager. I was surprised. He was white, unlike all the other workers on the floor who were people of color. As I waited in line at the register, I could see that all the cashiers' faces showed signs of exhaustion, lack of sleep, and overall stress. It was easy to see the connection to racism. After that, I could see it everywhere. Even with that, I could never have imagined the xenophobia that permeates the American landscape in 2022. Some people blame it on the events of 9/11. I have always believed that 9/11 was used as an excuse to ramp up the exclusion of people of color in this country, built on the backs of Black people and the near extermination of indigenous peoples. And immigration reform seems farther away than ever since my transplant into the United States. When I was in high school, I longed to go to college, to have a normal American life. I disclosed my status to the guidance counselor. It was then I understood the precariousness of my legal situation. She said, full of contempt, that I did not qualify for college. This was not true. All I had to do was get enough money to pay for classes ahead of time, which is hard, but not impossible. What I cannot do is apply for a job, an apartment, a loan. I cannot even apply for a magazine giveaway or a cooking show contest. You keep trying your dreams alive with so many no's. The talk with the guidance counselor was the first time I had a sickly feeling. It is as if I am forever falling in space. My insides have a consciousness of their own and refuse to accept my body's inability to anchor them to the bottom of my stomach. For many undocumented Americans, the sickly feeling pops up when faced with the need to disclose status to someone who might not be receptive or familiar with the legal pitfalls of interacting on a professional level. I would give almost anything to not feel that way again. This is one of the things I blame for my clinical depression. Disclosing my status for a job with someone who holds my success and economic stability in their hands is almost impossible. Most of the time, I feel completely exposed. I do not know when or to whom I can disclose my status. The philosopher Jeremy Bentham called panopticon a structure from which others have the power to monitor you at any and all times. The ones being observed aren't aware that they are being watched. The US immigration system knows I am here. I shudder to think where my information is stored within the government apparatus and for what purpose. I keep reaching for excellence, refusing to accept the hand I was dealt. I believe that this life is the only one I have. I want to look back at the end of it without regrets. Whenever I feel despair, I think of everything that happened for me to exist in this time and space. Life is incredibly valuable and unbelievably random. The Earth is around 4.5 billion years old. Only 600 million years ago, the first multicellular organism arose. According to science, the first modern humans can be traced to only 300,000 years ago. Somewhere along the way, my ancestors managed to pass on their DNA and keep their offspring alive until they themselves were old enough to procreate. If any of the many eggs or sperm that belonged to my ancestors had encountered a different egg or sperm, I would not be here, nor would any of you. This is when I feel the closest to my fellow human beings. I wake up every day thankful to be alive, able to listen to the morning dove outside my window and seeing my cat at the foot of the bed. And I ask, how do I convey to those who seem to hate me that my life matters as much as theirs, that we exist in this world where we elbowed ourselves into existence, that I just want to live an examine and meaningful life in this country where I was forged. Thank you. Everything.
Calling me short. Hi, I'm Karina Alvarez, and my poem is called Her Smile. This is dedicated to my mom. 26 years losing sleep, being stuck in an abandoned box, growing roots underneath, collecting dust, getting drowned by spider webs each night, trying to breathe, but feeling stuck in my own skin. I don't fit in my clothes, except for the black sheep suit I found in the cold. Being paralyzed by a movie of haunting memories playing like a broken record, giving me anxiety until I can no longer speak. Tired of getting pulled by the tone of my skin, by the way that I speak, being bullied by individuals I share blood with. My heart broke into a million of tiny pieces, crashing to the ground, getting lost like seeds, getting drowned by the waterfall falling from my face to my feet. I tried to swim and survive, but I can't feel my lungs getting filled. I tried to scream, but there's no sound, and there's no one around. When I felt like a broken old guitar without strings, you took me, fixed and tuned me. Like a knight, you broke the box. You took a sword, cut the roots, and took me in. I got lost in your sweet, warm, welcoming, coffee-colored eyes. I felt safe being wrapped around your arms. You were scared, but you didn't care. Fought dragons and monsters, traveled forests and mountains just to keep me safe. When I felt like a loose page falling from a book, you took the glue and pushed me in. I've seen your hair change, like the leaves in the trees. Your eyes change like the weather. I've seen you fall to your knees, getting bruised and sometimes bleed. But your smile seems to never leave. She won't tell you, but she lost her son in a battle. All she sees is a dark world when she's trying to breathe. She has scars from all the time she has fallen. Calluses underneath her feet form a map of all the places she's been. She has cuts in her hands, holes in her chest, from all the time she took the hits. She won't tell you. She cries until she falls asleep. She doesn't know how to write or read. That has never stopped her from achieving her dreams. She's been humiliated, spit, pushed, and stepped on, left like a crumbled piece of paper, destroyed like a sandcastle after being formed, ripped like a flower from a garden, used like a pen until it runs out of ink, trusted thieves who left her there to bleed. But when she looks at me, her smile never seems to leave.
Hello, it's titled Glory Be, A Time to Part for the Future. I'm tired of this hell. I'm stuck in this small cave on a hill hiding. My hands are cold, it's chilly in here, yet I cannot rest. I want to see my children, but this war is cruel. I'm so sick of it. No, I must be strong. I have to run. I have to fight or else the feds will kill my kin. I must help the General Prudencio Mendoza. He leads us in this war against Plutarco's soldiers. Plutarco is the president of Mexico that won't let common folk practice their faith. He gave anti-clerical laws. Some say it was because he had a grudge on religion. As the gossip was, he was an illegitimate child. Others say he was influenced by United States politicians. Either way, I don't want to hide my prayer. I don't want to walk in fear. I want my freedom to say, long live Christ. My faith is being tested and I hold a gun. I know I shall not kill, but my family, my relatives, my town are all in danger. I'm thinking to myself that all of this is crazy. Another breeze flows inside the cave while I'm reloading my gun. I leave the cave where I was hiding and come down from the hill. I have dirt on my boots and the sun is beating down. I'm tired, but I won't surrender. On my way to a town near the river, I stopped by a Cristero post. While resting, an informer, a woman that hides ammunition for us in her scarf, tells us that one of Plutarco's feared soldiers, nicknamed El Indio, is coming to kill anyone that is getting married. He is feared because he rapes women and kills them. People know when he arrives at a pueblo or town because of the bodies left there. So us Cristeros fight to help hide the women, children, and priests. Sometimes we hide them in caves. Despite teachings, priests themselves take guns. I am the people's soldier. I am a Cristero by the name of Serafin Mendoza, a widow and remarried. I have children again. I want them to never forget why this war is being fought, for glory and for faith. On my way to the town at the center, there is a church nearby with benches and plants. Then I see General Prudencio. There is prayer every time before battle. Cristero Prudencio Mendoza makes us pray. I dress up as an indigenous, even though I am a mestizo, just to get the strength and not to also be detected as easily. I move in with my gun held tight and go to the safe spot in town and quickly interrupt the newlywed ceremony. I tell the priests and people to move out because El Indio is coming. Lord and I know how they want me dead. The people thank me. Everyone knows that the feds have no morals, so the people hurry to leave. Soon, all is quiet. As I make my way out, the enemy spots me. It's a good thing he's by himself. I look back at him in the eyes and say, God forgive you. Tap! All I see is the smoke from my gun as I run back to the river. You see, the states of Jalisco and Michoacan have the advantages of the sierras, rivers, and lakes. There are small victories we Cristeros celebrate when the feds can't overtake towns or villages. Back at the local neighboring towns, there was a boy who wanted to join us in battle. His name was Jose Sanchez, a young boy, but General Prudencio said no. He didn't want children to fight. Prudencio Mendoza was a strict general, a disciplined one. He even forced everyone to recite prayer, and if you didn't, he would find no use of you. As Prudencio left me return home for a bit, I battled inside. I'm not proud of how things are here in Mexico. This gory war has the people on the edge. Things you thought you would never do. You either fight or die. There is no other choice. Soon, as I arrive home, I greet my daughter with a hug. I swallow my tears and tell her that faith is very powerful. It can help in desperate times. I give her a rosary and say, "Glory be, my child, as one day I will part. Remember this for the future." As I hear my grandmother Leonila tell stories of her father, my great-grandfather Serafin, I like to thank him for believing what was right at the time. Later, it would be known that Jose Sanchez de Rio became a saint at a very young age because he died at the hands of federal soldiers that were torturing him. His last words were, "Long live Christ King." My grandmother would say that my great-grandfather, Serafin, was related to Prudencio in some way, but we will never really know for sure. As I tell this story based on a true story of real war, I like to dedicate this to all the people who lost their lives and those who continue to fight for freedom.
Well, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I think, I don't know, we began to do this event. Where the real event develops in time, no? It's something that happens from January to now. Hello, Hannah. So good to see you. Hannah is one of our teachers. We began this at Penn offices, in Soho. And it was a workshop that was held in a closet. It was an unbelievable thing. Now we have 5 workshops all over the boroughs, one in each borough. We have a bunch of students. We have faculty that returns every year to teach, and it's a thing of substance. No, when we were planning this before we discovered that the first sessions of the workshop were going to be held in a closet, it was the library of Penn, which was a closet. So there was a little table there, and 12 students and myself, and it was always really hot, and coffee was really bad. But before that, there was a lunch with who was then the director of the festival. Jacob was his name. He now works in Brooklyn in the public library. And we were having lunch, and we were like, what should we do with the festival? To have events of substance. He had called me to say, let's have ideas about what events we should have in a festival. And I was like, that's a pasarela, man. That's like fashion. That festivals are so empty always, and it's just a fashionable thing, and it belongs to the publishing world, and blah, 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 all the complaints of the writers without look like me. But we planned this. And as you could see, we are still the most intense, the most beautiful, the most enriching event of the whole festival. And I think that we are, don't laugh. We are the best event. No one will fucking cry in another event. No one will laugh in another event. They will be watching like a superstar as if it was TV. This is the real thing. It's the laboratory of writing. And what you just saw is the future of American literature. So thanks very much again. Thanks to the office of the mayor of the city to make this possible. You don't have idea the effort that it involves. Thanks to CUNY to help us to send the message all around. And more than anything, thanks to you, those who come to these events, because you are supporting something that is truly meaningful. It really, really, thank you for supporting us. There is another reading, right? At 3 p.m. in here, between the 5 workshops that there are now, there is one of drama, and that one is the next one, and they will be reading in the third. They will be occupying the second reading of the festival. Sorry, we were the first ones. Thanks very much for your presence, really. Thank you.